Do I get this right? Nobody has to come back to Cisco's offices if they don't want to?
What I would say, Emily, and it's great to be with you, by the way, is that the world of work is way too dynamic to have one approach for all employees. And so what we are doing at Cisco is we are empowering our leaders and teams to make decisions about how they work based on the work that they do and the personal preference of the team. Over the last few years, we have invested in the capability of our teams. We're a big believer that if we get teams right, we win. And so we're going to decentralize that decision and trust our teams to figure out what works, and we're going to take it in 3-month increments. And so we'll have teams decide how they want to start. They'll work for a few months. We'll help our teams facilitate that, assess, and then move on to tweaking the model. What we realize is the innovation and the agility that we bring to technology, we have to bring to the way in which we work as well.
That's interesting. So if somebody said right now, I don't want to come back at all, 5 days a week, that would be okay at this moment?
So what we would say is that a team leader facilitates the team in talking about how the team should work. And depending on the work, some of our teams will actually have to be in the office, but they're going to decide for a team. Does that mean that you come in twice a week? Does that mean that you come in perhaps 2 days a month? And we know that there's going to be variability around the work. Something that we know at Cisco is before the pandemic, only 63% of our people were coming in 4 to 5 days of the week. What we now know when we survey our employees is that only 23% of our people want to work that way. And so it's going to be very dynamic, but we want to give them choice while we look at business need.
I like the 3-month increments because it sort of speaks to the idea that companies need to have a growth mindset and be willing to learn as this journey continues. What about vaccines? We just saw Google and Facebook mandating vaccines. Will you require vaccines for people who do come to the office?
You know, we have been. Back in June, we made the decision to open up the offices to the employees that are fully vaccinated. And so we have been doing that through the month of July. Our plan was to look at July and August as transition months. And we were going to slowly bring employees back in that are vaccinated. And the other thing that we were going to do is really focus on leadership capabilities. We think our leaders play a big role in hybrid and navigating through the way in which teams work. And so we're doing some great leadership training, but also we're going to focus on well-being. We announced a partnership with Thrive earlier in the month, where we plan to really focus on those 2 items in August in preparation for a September go live. We now think that that'll be pushed back by about a month.
Cisco WebEx, of course, has been critical in keeping so many employees and employers connected. What does this mean for your physical office footprint? I mean, Cisco's a giant company with offices around the world. As you shift to this model, does that mean you're scaling back on real estate too?
So 2 things that I would say. The first is that the WebEx changes have been phenomenal because WebEx has really leaned into an inclusive product and driving this ability, whether you're working from home or in the office, to have a very different and improved experience. That's something that we're really proud of. What that means is that when we come into the office, it's really going to be for team events. It's going to be to build connection. It's going to be to meet with customers. We're not going to come in the office to work on WebEx and do email. And so we're going to be really thoughtful. And so what I would say, Emily, is that the space that we have in the office, which was incredibly individually allocated, is now going to be really focused on teams and creating those huddle spaces that allow us to collaborate.